So now I'd like to welcome our speaker, Mandy Megan Conyers Smith, and thank her for joining us today. But before turning it over to Mandy Megan, I'd like to give you a brief introduction. Mandy Megan Conyers Smith has been working as a dietitian for over 7 years. She received a Bachelor of Science in Human Nutrition at Mount St. Vincent University in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and is currently pursuing a Master's of Science degree in Clinical Nutrition at Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey. Mandy Megan is very passionate about nutrition and healthy living and is committed to helping people improve their health through tailored medical nutrition therapy and food and nutrition education. For more information on Mandy Megan, please read the speaker bio section to the left of your screen. So without further ado, I'd like to present to you Mandy Megan.
Thank you, Sarah, for that introduction, and thank you, everyone, for joining me today throughout this presentation. I hope by the end of this presentation, we will all be able to make a goal to help us reduce type 2 diabetes as it affects so many of us. So let's get started. So first, I would like to discuss exactly what is diabetes. Diabetes occurs when the body cannot make enough insulin or cannot properly use the insulin that it makes. So when we eat foods that contain sugars or carbohydrates, they are converted in the body into simple sugars, and you'll hear the term used, glucose, which is the term that represents sugar in the blood. When we eat foods such as bread, pasta, rice, beans, certain fruits, vegetables, as well as dairy products such as milk, sugar enters the bloodstream. As sugar rises in the bloodstream, it signals the pancreas to release insulin to help us get sugar into the cell. So insulin is a hormone that is responsible for allowing glucose to get into the cell. So I have a little picture on my slide, if you can see it, that represents this mechanism. So you see the cell is the blue circle, and the glucose represents the little red molecules there, and the key, the yellow key or golden key, is the insulin. So with diabetes, the insulin is either not available to let the sugar into the cell, or it is there, but the cell is not responding to it. So there are different types of diabetes, and I will just briefly go through each one. Type 1 diabetes occurs when the immune system attacks and permanently disables the insulin-making cells in the pancreas. This can happen at a very early age, and this is why this type of diabetes used to be called juvenile diabetes, because it was found in many kids. But we do know now that adults can also be diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes occurs when cells stop responding to insulin, or there is a resistance to the response of insulin. So insulin can be present, but the cells are not responding. And this used to be called adult onset diabetes because we used to see this a lot in older in adults and instead of kids. But now we do know that children can also be diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Gestational diabetes occurs during pregnancy, and the body cannot produce enough insulin to handle the effects of the growing baby. We have a lot of hormones changing during that time. And pre-diabetes happens when the blood sugar levels are higher than normal, but not high enough to be called diabetes or to be diagnosed with diabetes. So there are a few risk factors that can increase your chances of developing type 2 diabetes. And as I go through them, you'll realize that some of these factors we cannot change, and there is one that we can change. So age can definitely affect our risk for diabetes. So the older we get, the higher our risk. So the age over 40 and older. Whether or not you have diabetes within the family, so you have a family member, a sibling, a mother or father that's diagnosed with diabetes. If you are a member of a high-risk group, such as Aboriginal, Hispanic, South Asian, or of African descent, if you have given birth to a baby or you had gestational diabetes, you're also at risk for developing diabetes later on in life. If you've been diagnosed with pre-diabetes, and also if you are overweight, especially if the weight is mostly carried around the tummy. So in terms of reference for the circumference size around, some of the risk factors are 40 inches and over, or 102 centimeters in males, or 35 inches or more, or 88 centimeters in females. Other health complications or problems or medications that you're taking can also increase your risk, and your doctor will definitely be able to talk to you about how that affects your body. So we know that healthy lifestyle can delay or help to prevent type 2 diabetes. In the earlier slide where we talked about the prevention, we talked about the fact that carrying extra weight or being overweight is a risk factor, and healthy lifestyles can actually help us to reduce those factors involved with weight gain that can increase your risk for diabetes. We know that about 80 to 90% of people living with diabetes do carry some extra pounds. So we're going to talk about 3 healthy lifestyle habits that can lower our risk for diabetes today. And we're going to break them down into weight management, healthy eating that has a few factors involved, and also active living. So let's start off with weight management. So having excess fat in the body can affect the way cells respond to insulin. So if you remember, we talked about that resistance to insulin earlier with type 2 diabetes. Your healthcare team can help you understand your weight status and how it may influence your health. For those who are concerned about weight or are overweight, good news is that research shows that weight reduction with lifestyle interventions such as healthy eating and active living has been shown to reduce the incidence of diabetes by almost 60%. And in combination, when you look at the research, basically just a small amount of weight loss is actually quite effective. So 5 to 10% of your body weight is the first goal that you want to aim for. So now let's talk about healthy eating. So healthy eating includes a variety of things. So we're going to touch on a few topics today, really briefly. But when we talk about healthy eating, we are focusing on ensuring that our diet is adequate in essential nutrients. And by essential, we're talking about those nutrients that we must get from food that our body cannot make or make enough of, that we have a variety in our diet. So we're eating many different foods from the food group because each food will provide us with different nutrients. For example, if you just look at a simple example of the fruit and vegetable group, a banana is a fruit, an apple is a fruit. And we do know that a banana and apple, they will carry different nutrients for us. We want to definitely make sure that we're eating a variety of different foods within the same food group. In addition, we also want to make sure that we are getting the right portion so that we're getting enough nutrients, and also that we're not getting too much that can lead to excess calories that can be stored as unwanted fat. When we use the term balanced meal, and I know you've probably heard that so many times, what does it really mean? A balanced meal is having at least 3 out of the 4 groups present at your plate. The benefits of having a balanced meal and eating balanced is that it supports the adequate intake of daily essential nutrients to support health, and it reduces the risk of chronic diseases because you are fueling your body with all those healthy nutrients that you need every day. Portion control. So consuming foods in the right portion at each meal, as I mentioned earlier, can prevent excess intake of food or calories that can lead to weight gain. The healthy plate is a great way for you to visualize what portions look like. And if you're not familiar with the healthy plate, it's basically separating your plate in half. And that half, it will include foods from your fruits and vegetable group. And then you divide the other half into half. And 1/4 of that plate will then be your grain products, and the other would be your meat and alternative. This is just a guideline or an example of what a healthy plate looks like. In terms of portions, you can find portions on the Canada's Food Guide, but an easy way is to also use your hands as a tool. So the fist can represent your choice for grains or starches and fruit for 1 serving. Vegetables are usually your hand, so as much as you can scoop up in your hand would be enough for a vegetable serving. Your meat and alternatives will be the palm of your hand, so palm size. And fats, such as margarine, will be the amount of the tip of your thumb. A serving size for milk, for example, would be a cup of milk. Eating healthy also includes having a regular eating pattern. So yes, you're eating balanced, you're making sure your food is portion controlled, but you're also paying attention to when and how often you eat. A general rule is for us to eat a balanced meal 3 times per day, and that should be spread out evenly throughout the day. Generally, we tend to eat every 4 to 5 hours, which is considered enough for us to get 3 balanced meals in without us having to worry about being hungry or skipping nutrients that we could have gotten from a meal that we skipped. So spreading your food out over the day helps you to control your blood sugar and appetite so you can reduce the chances of overeating and prevent cravings. It can take about a minimum of 6 to 8 hours for food to be fully digested, but the stomach can be emptied at around 4 to 5 hours. So at that point, when your stomach is feeling empty, you will feel hungry. And of course, the longer you go without eating and you're hungry, the greater your chances are for picking foods that are more high in sugar, or making choices that you would not normally make if you weren't on a hungry stomach. That makes sense. Healthy eating also includes adding fiber to the diet. So dietary fiber is part of the plant or food that our bodies cannot fully digest or absorb. And fiber actually has many benefits for us. It helps us to feel full for longer, which is a great tool for weight management. It helps to slow the digestion of food and so therefore slowing the movement of sugar into your blood. So it helps to normalize or slow the release of blood glucose into your system. It also helps to keep our bowels regular and therefore support a healthy digestive system. So choosing foods such as vegetables and fruits, lentils, whole grains such as cereal, bread, and pasta all helps to support good intake of fiber. Research also shows that eating more fiber may help to lower your blood cholesterol. We also want to make sure that we're reducing the amount of added sugars to our diet. So added sugars are those sugars and syrups that we put into foods during preparation, or it can be added to foods in processing. So these sugars aren't naturally found in food, but we're adding the sugars for taste. So we want to limit sugars such as honey and molasses, brown sugar, and white sugar, candies, chocolate, sweet desserts, pastries, and high-calorie baked goods because they are loaded in sugars. Not saying that you can never have them, but just be mindful and try to limit as much as possible. The World Health Organization actually recommends for good health and the prevention of chronic disease is that we limit our added sugars to 10% or less of our total calorie intake. So for the average person that's taking in about, say, 2,000 calories a day, that would equal to about 48 grams of sugar a day, which is about 12 teaspoons. So if you take a can of pop and you look at the amount of sugar inside one can, we're very close to having almost 10 teaspoons already just by having that one can of pop. So it really adds up. When foods with added sugar are eaten or drunk in large or taken in large amounts, these foods may replace healthier foods in your diet, so you have to be mindful of that as well. And with added sugars, will add calories without adding many other nutrients. And of course, we are focused on weight management when we're looking at prevention of type 2 diabetes, and eating too much sugar can contribute to extra calories, unwanted calories, or empty calories, and unwanted weight gain. Another factor that we want to look at is fat. So we all need fat in our diet. Fat is considered an essential nutrient. However, we do know that fats and oils are really high in calories, so portion is really important. We want to get them, and we want to get them in the right amount. But most importantly, we want to pay attention to the type of fat that we're eating. Saturated fat and trans fat may rise or increase your risk of heart disease or heart attack and stroke because they increase your bad cholesterol. So you may have heard the term LDL, which stands for low density lipoprotein. I like to say L for lousy, keep it low. Saturated fat is mostly found in our animal products. So we're talking about like our meat and our dairy products. These are really important for us to get certain nutrients. We know our meat is our protein source. Dairy, we get our calcium, vitamin D. We want to go ahead and choose lean meat so that we're getting the benefits from that food group without the extra added saturated fat. And we also want to make sure that we're also choosing dairy products that are lower in saturated fat as well. For example, skim milk or 1% milk versus whole milk. Trans fat is made within the industry by adding hydrogen to vegetable oils. The trans fat also increases your bad cholesterol, your LDL. And you can find out more about how much trans fat is in your food by reading a food label, which we will talk about soon. Unsaturated fats, however, are considered our good fats or our healthy fats, and they help to increase our good cholesterol, which is really good for us. They also can help to lower your LDL cholesterol. You can find this in plant sources, in our vegetable oils, nuts, seeds, and also fatty fish. So here's the picture of a food label. And nutrition labels, they do help us make informed decisions as consumers when we're buying our food. A very simple way to read a food label is to, first, you want to always look at the serving size to make sure that it is what you're eating. If you're eating double, you have to multiply it by 2. Then you want to look at the daily percent value. Once you are able to look at the daily percent value, or you're checking out exactly what nutrient you're looking for, you use the numbers 5 and 15% as a guide. 5% or less means a little of the nutrient, 15% or more means a lot. So you think about what do you want a lot of and what do you want a little of. For example, if you're looking at saturated fat, in this label, it says 5%. So this product, for this serving of 2/3 of a cup, is considered low in saturated fat. But if you were concerned about fiber, in this product, you can see fiber is 4 grams, and it says 16%. So we know for sure that this product gives us a lot of fiber. So 5 and 15% is an easy way to read your food labels. We also want to make sure that we are focusing on remaining very active. Being active for at least 30 minutes a day, 5 to 7 days a week, or roughly about 150 minutes a week is adequate for us to receive benefits of physical activity. Being active helps us to control our weight. It helps us to lower our blood glucose by using glucose for energy. It's also known to help strengthen our bones and muscles. And it improves our ability to do our daily activities. So the more you move, the more you're able to move. So when it comes to physical activity, you want to start, and if you're not active, guidelines say that you want to start at only a few minutes a day, and then you can build up to 30 minutes. So if you want to just start off at 10 minutes, and then as you're feeling more and more fit, you can then build up to 30 minutes. Include activities that make your heart beat faster, like brisk walking, swimming, or bike riding. You should be able to talk, so you shouldn't be out of breath, but your heart should be beating pretty quickly. On at least 2 days a week, you want to include strength strengthening exercises that will strengthen your muscles and bones, such as lifting weights or doing yard work or even yoga. The next step is to seek support. If you're concerned about diet, or you have questions about your diet, or you want to have a tailored meal plan, a registered dietitian can help you make healthy food choices and tailored meal plans to help you and your family meet your nutrition-related goals. Every person and every family has different goals, and it's really important that the information that you are receiving is helping you reach your goal. In regards to physical activity, if you're not active, it's really important that you talk to your doctor first about your plans to be active and get the consent from your doctor or the go-ahead from your doctor to start working out or start living more an active lifestyle. You can ask for resources at your doctor's office for resources in the community that can help you get started with exercise. Sometimes they know about programs that are going on that you may not know about. Okay. Now I just want to talk about making SMART goals. We talk a little bit about a few steps that can help us to live healthier lifestyle, but it's really important that we set goals so that we can achieve the goals that we want. So a SMART goal can help us improve our health. SMART goals are specific, they're measurable, they're attainable, they're rewarding, and they're timely. So let's use an example, like a scenario from today to make a SMART goal. So let's just say that you're listening to this presentation today and you realize that you want to improve your diet or your healthy eating patterns. And you say to yourself, you know, I don't get enough fruits and vegetables in my diet. In fact, I probably get no fruits and vegetables in my diet. Overall, you want to make healthier eating part of your lifestyle. But just to say, I want to eat healthier is not a specific or a SMART goal. So when you break it down into starting off with, you're realizing that vegetables and fruits is something that's lacking, you're getting more specific. So then you think about, how will I do it? Okay. If I incorporate fruits and vegetables into my diet at every meal time, that's more specific, because now you're saying when you're going to do it at mealtime, and what you're going to do, fruits and vegetables. Okay? Then you're going to go to how much and how many. Then you think about what you can do. So if I add 1 serving of fruits and vegetables at mealtime, 1 at breakfast, 1 at lunch, and 1 at supper, that's measurable, because now you can see that you're incorporating something that you can measure. Then you want to think about if it's something you can do. Can you actually do that? If you're able to say yes, that you can actually incorporate, you're able to go to the grocery store, you can afford the fruit and vegetables, then yes, it's attainable. Then you have to ask yourself, is it rewarding? Is it something that I want to do? You want to eat healthier. You know that starting by this simple step will get you closer to meeting those guidelines or general rules of healthy eating. In yourself, you know that this is going to be rewarding, or the first step to making a healthy change. And then you think about how long you're going to do it. Maybe I'll do it for 1 month. So every mealtime, breakfast, lunch, and supper, I will incorporate 1 serving of either a fruit or vegetable at each meal. And I will do that for at least 1 month. I hope that makes sense. These are my references for today. And now I'm going to open the floor to any questions that we may have.